Welcome back to another episode of the Professor's Podcast. I am the host for this podcast specifically for this next set of speakers who we are basically, me and my sidekick here, Howie. Howie, say hi to everyone.
Hi, guys.
We today, Howie, have got another special guest as we're pretty much interviewing this group of sellers that were handpicked by the professor himself, Howard Tai, to speak at his first ever live online virtual mastermind, the Professor's Pandemic event, which will be held at the end of June. And if you stay tuned till the end of this actual interview, you will hear more details about how to find out how to actually get one of the seats for that event, as we are going to limit it. That way we can still have somewhat a virtual actual environment where we interact, we get to know one another, and it's much different than what usually happens at one of the professor's events. I can say so. I've been to 6, I think it's 6 now. How many have we actually done together, Howie, that we kind of bring the house down and we get little wild and secrets come out?
I really don't remember. There's like a bunch of them. We do 4 times a year, so that's like, I'm guessing, I think it is more than 6, Liz. I think so.
Yeah,
we did like Las Vegas like 3.
Keep track. I can't keep track. But I will say this. I do keep track of what actually happens behind closed doors and what happens at the bar afterwards. And I can say that we've had a lot of big sellers. I'm not going to really say any names, but we've had the guys that create the software. Everybody just pretty much share their secrets, share all sorts of intimate amounts of information. And I will say this, like, I've been one of the people out there in the trenches like you have, purposely buying people tons and tons of drinks just to get their secrets. And usually that works. But this time it's going to be a little bit different, Howie, because we're going to be like live virtually. For example, right now I'm in my pajama bottoms. Nobody can even really tell that because the rest of me looks like I'm fully dressed with makeup on and all that good stuff. But the reality is I'm at home. And that's the fantastic thing about this time around's event, that we're going to be live online in the comfort of our own home, safely, securely. But that doesn't necessarily mean I can't be sneaking some vodka in this. Any plans from you, Howie, on to how to make this a little bit extra special?
Well, I'm actually more of a nerd. I don't really like to talk too much and stuff. The only time I talk is I geek out about Amazon stuff sometimes when I find someone that I'm interested that is like it's about Amazon, and I just geek out with them. So it's just like some stuff I don't really like to talk. So maybe I should put some spike my own water with like vodka or something like back in the days, when I was in college or something like that, to see how that works.
Yeah, I clearly had no idea you were a nerd, Howie. I saw you in the trailer for the actual mastermind. You were riding that whip, that Lambo, like there was no tomorrow. I was like, we got to catch up with that guy. He's going to just speed on right by me and my Uber. So we saw that video clip. If you haven't seen it already, again, I'm going to give you some more details on how you can find out more about the first ever live online Professor's Pandemic virtual event that I would say this much. I've had the honor of being by Howie, interviewing every single one of these guys, and all of them, even in the interviews alone, they gave me tips that I could already take and use in my Amazon business. And I'll tell you, since yesterday, I've been nonstop going crazy with TikTok. We had a guest yesterday talk about TikTok, and today is going to be no exception. We've also got a very talented gentleman, from what I've talked to him about so far, and talented so much that Howie, again, he went to the far reaches of the actual globe, and they just happened to meet at one of the last Amazon events before things went really crazy. They met in Prague. You want to tell us a little bit more about that meeting, Howie, and how you guys really became very close because you spent a lot of extra time that you kind of weren't expected to spend together. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Well, Etienne, how many times have I met you in these seminars that we saw? I think China was one of them.
Those events. I think one events? Or two. Every 6 months, I think we are passed across around conferences in Hong Kong, in Guangzhou, and last time was in Prague.
Yeah, so last time I remember was one is Guangzhou, and then another one was Prague recently. And he's also in my very inner circle, elite seller society. So that's a very, very inner circle. And it was really cool. In Prague, we kind of drank a lot, actually. I was told I got drunk and I didn't know how to get back to the room, and people were guiding me to the room. something like that. That's like what was it called? Like whatever happens in Prague stays in Prague kind of thing. So it was really
That's
crazy.
Vegas, Howie.
Oh,
I still have videos that I show no one because I promised.
so it was really cool. So,
That's Vegas, Howie. So you probably have to tell us what happened.
so Etienne right here was a speaker on the panel regarding the event. So he showed a lot of what he is knowledgeable, as well as I feel like he's a perfect candidate for one of our being a speaker. The regards is a lot of U.S. sellers don't really, or Western sellers don't really sell in Europe. So he's a really good candidate for us to kind of push Europe more out. So a lot of people have more questions about Europe. So that's where I see a big opportunity for us Amazon sellers, because when I was used to sell, like half of my sales comes from like Europe, and the other half is in the U.S. So it's a big opportunity if you can actually hurdle through the VATs and the taxes and the imports and the language barrier. Then everything I think is a big opportunity. So we're going to have Etienne here talk about some of those opportunities and how to overcome them on this podcast here, as well as during the event, has some tech tricks and whatever he has listed for us to talk about.
Yeah, amazing. I'm excited. So without further ado, let's jump straight into the interview. So Etienne, Howie and I will take turns asking you some questions. And before I begin, let me just say this. I'm excited for this. I can't wait. It's been something that I've been looking for quite some time. And hey, we'll say this much. I haven't been out of the house in quite some time. So that, again, people, is just a precursor to that. My excitement, I do believe, is for a reason. So I have not been outside of the house, though, but I do look forward to exchanging some Amazon knowledge. And Etienne will be one of those actual people. So Etienne, let's just pretend for the sake of this interview that you and Howard are on an elevator, correct? And you obviously know that he is the professor, the man, the myth, and the legend, and you really want to speak at his actual Amazon event. You know he's having one of the top Amazon events that there is out there. You know his elite level of sellers that he has in his circle. So you want to impress him. Pretend you have 2 minutes on this elevator. Tell him who you are and why you think you're qualified enough and one of the best in the world to actually speak at his event.
Sure, thank you, Liz. Well, just for my name, you can pronounce it like ATN, like the ATN machine, and that's the easiest way to remember how to pronounce it for English-speaking people. Maybe the main point about me is that I started selling on Amazon with just $1,000 in my pocket, and I was lucky enough to transform it into 1 million in 18 months, selling only in Europe at that time. Then I started selling in the US actually later. And I was afraid of going in the US because I thought it would be too crowded, too complicated, competition, etc., etc. Whereas it's actually Europe that is much more hard as a seller to manage because of all the languages, the barriers, the VATs, the logistics. Now they are opening the Netherlands. They probably are going to open some other countries soon. And I actually started with the north face of it, and now that I'm in the US, I think it's quite easy.
Wow. Well, I think Europe is it's for Europe seller going to US. It might be in the sense that kind of harder because its competition is like crazy. From what I've seen, Europe is a lot easier to rank in terms of like competition and stuff. So it's easier to rank that.
Oh yeah, fully agree on the ranking. The competition level is lower. The margins are usually higher because there's less price war. Also, there's less black hats, so it's a bit more peaceful in terms of a peace of mind. But the thing is, Amazon is usually rolling out their new features in the US first, and then rolling out to Europe, and not even the entire Europe. Sometimes they start with the UK or with Germany, and then France, Italy, Spain come later, and now the Netherlands. But so it's a balance between those two continents.
Okay, so what do you consider yourself the foremost expert in? Just like how you have so many things, and I wanted you to pick one of them that you think that you are the best of the best in expertise.
So I think, well, when I thought about this question, I think I noted 3 points. The first one comes from my background, because before doing Amazon, I was a marketing executive in blue chip companies and then in startups. And I did most of my careers in cosmetics. And I was a marketing director for Europe, etc., for big cosmetic brands. And I did fragrance as well. And in those industries, we sell only dream stories, but it's almost nothing tangible, and so it's a lot of bullshit actually. But so I think I can say I'm quite good at brand positioning and especially audience segmentation, because most of the people I know in the Amazon scene are very good in e-commerce. They're very good in sourcing and operations, but most of them are not super advanced in terms of marketing, and I think it's more and more key in the days to come to understand fully our consumers and build brands that are meaningful and that resonates with the consumers' minds. That's the first point. The second one is the operations in Europe, as I started there and as I developed from France to Europe, PanEuro, and now worldwide. That would be my second thing. And my third thing is actually PPC. I'm a PPC enthusiast, and I love playing with myself with the campaigns and with agencies and now with tools, and I tried many of them.
Interesting. So what, you might have already said it, but maybe you could go deeper into how do you think outside the box compared to your competitors?
Well, first, I tried sometimes not to reinvent the wheel. People spend a lot of time trying to create stuff from scratch, whereas you can usually take some inspirations from not your direct competitors, but people in another category, people in another market, people outside of Amazon. There's a lot of good things to take and just to adapt to your products, to your brand on Amazon. And the second thing I would say is to be very much data oriented. A lot of people make decisions based on advices they got, based on gut feelings. But we live in a world where we can measure almost everything, and that's a great opportunity for us to make decisions very rational on what's working and what's not. And Amazon is a dream for that because we can measure almost everything.
Yeah, amazing. You've got a broad, extensive knowledge base, it looks like, particularly in Europe. Let me ask you this question. There really isn't another speaker like you that has that kind of sort of broad amount of knowledge, just particularly in Europe. But based off that, what 3 to 5 things have you thought about wanting to speak about to this crowd that would absolutely wow them?
Yeah, of course, Europe is a big one. One of my main hobbies on my personal side is how to hack my body, how to hack my mind to be more efficient in my business and maybe more efficient and also happy in my personal life. So it's a theme I'd like to call biohacking for e-commerce entrepreneurs that I'm very passionate about, and I can talk about it for hours. The second topic would be how to build a proper seller operating system and really build your process so that it's fully or almost fully on autopilot, and you just use a few tools and to pilot your virtual assistants or your team if you have to do the work for you. The third topic would be how to handle PPC automation across various marketplaces. And the last one would be my complete 2020 toolbox for Amazon sellers.
Yeah, a lot of those sound actually really exciting, particularly like the toolbox, because there's so many different things that you can be using. You don't really know what to invest in what, and let's face it, it's not cheap. You can literally add up a lot of things and they start to add up, and before you know it, you end up with a credit card bill that's several $1,000s, yes. And you don't even know what in the heck you have. But, some of those were some great actual examples, Etienne, or that you would speak about. But the one thing that I noticed already from speaking with you for a very short time is that you're obviously extremely good under pressure. I mean, turning $1,000 into $1 million in 18 months is something that is not to be like just kind of shoved off, right? So I'm kind of a little curious, in the actual current environment, let's just say you have $1,000 in your pocket. Which marketplace, if you had to start all over with the same knowledge that you have right now, which marketplace do you start out in and why?
I'll go in Germany, because that's still the biggest market in Europe. People usually don't know that. People think the UK is bigger. UK is more crowded with all American sellers, also with a lot of sellers from China. Germany is less crowded. The margins are great. The costs are super low in terms of logistics. And you can really start a brand and start a product efficiently with that amount of money.
Awesome.
So what kind of problems do you see a lot of these Amazon sellers are having right now at this current time because of the pandemic that we're having right now?
So the main problem I see, and I also suffer from it to some extent, is the logistic dependency on Amazon. Most of us sellers had relied fully on Amazon to do FBA, and we basically outsourced all the logistic parts to Amazon. And now with the pandemic, with the demand rising on some categories of products, the other categories have been sometimes blocked, sometimes delayed. Some shipments have been taken 3 or 4 weeks. So I think that's a very big challenge. We see that in the US as well with the delivery times. And the challenge for us is now to build a proper logistic capacity and have a proper system to have FBM offers and other vendors helping us to ship our products to the end consumers. And the second one is the demand shift. We saw drastic rises on some categories, of course, related to the COVID, but also related to everything that people wanted to do while at home, and all the categories with a demand drop, such as travel, etc., etc. So this will take some time, but will be back to normal in a while. But I see that as a challenge for those sellers that have been having a very hard drop in terms of demand.
So, like EU, what is that?
PanEuro?
PanEuro, sorry. PanEuro, where a lot of the products are stored actually in France. So are they able even to do the PanEuro from France to outside distribution to other countries? Because I've heard a lot of people say if the inventory for the PanEuro is in France, it's kind of like they can't really sell those kind of products out.
No, that's the tragic issue. Before the crisis, you could deliver your stock in one point, let's say in France, and then if you're a member of the PanEuro system, then Amazon will split your stock across all the countries based on the velocity of your products in each country, so that the stock is the closest to the end consumer. So that's a huge issue. I had some insider information last week from Amazon that still haven't been announced, but I hope it's going to be announced in the coming days, that they will allow every seller that has some stock in France on Seller Central to transfer it to, let's say, Germany or another country, so that this stock will be available for the end consumers. That was supposed to be announced this week. It still hasn't, and I hope it's gonna happen in the coming days. Let's see.
So, can you tell us why are people using PanEuro instead of the regular style shipment method where they ship it directly to each country instead? What is there a cost factor?
Yeah, of course, there's a cost factor, and also the peace of mind, because you just deliver I used to deliver full containers to Amazon. Now I optimized a little bit, and I had my third party shipping only a few pallets here and there when I need it. But it's a peace of mind. You have one point of entry, and then Amazon does the rest. On the paper, it looks very good. Actually, I got this information from the head of the marketplace in France that told me that this works if you ship at least 6 weeks of stocks per SKU. If you do less than this, then the algorithm will not optimize your stock across countries that much. So if you want to be on the safe side, and it has a cost in terms of stocks, of course, and then of stocking fees at Amazon, but it's to be between 6 and 8 weeks of stocks at Amazon. That is costly, but that's also the best solution to have your stock everywhere and delivered on the next day for everyone in Europe.
Understand. So I just wanted to know if you see any other opportunities that you see in 2020 for Amazon sellers.
Sure. And before opportunities, I think that there's a lot of problem that us sellers are facing, of course, with the pandemic, but also in terms of Amazon, there's still rising cost of acquisition because PPC is now pretty much a pay to play. If you don't invest a fair amount of money in PPC on Amazon, then you basically don't exist. And this will continue rising and rising. So you better include that in your margin calculations from the beginning and have bigger numbers in terms of marketing. It's also still very difficult to take the lead on the customer relation because Amazon is now trying very hardly for us not to contact them. They reduced the emails, probably they're pushing now the auto review buttons and getting rid of every tool that is helping us to get in direct contact with the consumers. The third challenge I see is it's actually an opportunity for us sellers, but long term it's going to be a tremendous challenge. It's the big brands coming on Amazon. Some of them have been around for a while, some of them haven't. But now with the crisis, all of them, I guess, understood that they cannot avoid to have a proper strategy on Amazon and not just let their retailers, their wholesalers take the business. The consequence of this is that they will come with big money to invest in PPC especially. And the way I see it on Amazon advertising is working very hard to attract all the TV money that those big brands have to spend. And we see that especially with the new video formats that are just been released after a beta in the US and are coming in Europe soon. This is an opportunity for us sellers to use all those new features, all those new formats very soon before everyone is using them, because the costs are still low. I see that in my campaigns in the US. The ACOS, the average ACOS on my sponsor brand video is twice lower than the average ACOS of all my other sponsor brands campaigns. And the click-through rate is around 5%, which is crazy for digital. So it's today a super good opportunity to invest, and tomorrow it's going to be harder and harder. And so we'll need to use other levers to attract consumers without spending all of our budget on it. The last challenge that we're facing, and I was shocked a few months ago. I was invited by Amazon in their London headquarters, and they had to present their exclusive program. They actually have two programs called exclusive. One is when you build a brand exclusively for Amazon, but it's your brand. And the second one is when you do license for the numerous brands. They have around 50 different brands. It's not just Amazon Basics. They have a lot of them. And then you basically operate for them as a sourcer. Actually, it's like you have the brand brief, and you go to the factories, and then you do the business. But it's a trap. Both of them. They first ask for 5% extra Amazon fees, referral fees, and I asked the question during the conference. We were, I think, 200 in the room, and I knew they were presenting this same program in Shenzhen a few weeks before. And I asked them publicly, okay, you present that to us, Westerners, European, Americans, a few, but you also presented this program to the Chinese sellers and to the Chinese factories in the room. And I guess there were more than 1,000 or maybe 2,000 in the room, right? So what do you expect from us? Because you go directly to the manufacturers. So I think they will do that more and more in the future. So we really need to build brands, not just nice products, but also meaningful brands that people love, and they do not just love the features of the product, but they also put a lot of value in your own brand. And this is the only way that we're going to survive in the future. But I see some big opportunities. I mentioned building some FBM capabilities. Of course, since the crisis, we see a rising penetration for the online channel, and especially I would say for the a bit older segments like Gen X and baby boomers that sometimes went to shop online, especially for categories that they never shopped before. And I think this change of habits will stay in the future, and that's a big opportunity for us, especially if you target those segments. Another opportunity in terms of exit strategy will be if you want to exit, if you want to sell your Amazon business, is to sell that to brick and mortar brands, or at least build some partnerships with them. That will be easier and easier in the future. The two last opportunities is that this crisis will kill a few sellers, of course, and they will kill probably the smaller one, the one that are shortest in cash. And those were the one that were polluting a little bit the categories, doing a lot of copycats and not really adding any value to the market. So if you're more structured than that, and if you're a bit bigger and have more cash, it's actually an opportunity to have less competition in the short term. And also, a lot of them reduced their investment in terms of acquisition in PPC, especially. So it's an opportunity to build your retail space using PPC.
Well, I just want to go back and say when I used to do like PPC in all these different countries in Europe, my price in the US was like $1, $2, $3 or something like that for a particular PPC. And when I'm in Europe, this is like like PPC costs like pennies when I was in there. I'm not sure what it is now, but in France, Italy, Spain, they're like free to advertise. So, and as well as right now, like if you look at it in US, all the PPC spots are like takes over the whole page. You don't even see any organic anymore. And like before, you're like number 2 or 3 or 4, or on organic, you'll be doing really well. But if you're if you're number 4, you're probably like in the sense of back in the days, like number 20th place, because you have all these sponsored products that's covering you. You have like editorials. You have all these things in the U.S. that's like pushing you down. It's not like before where you're organic and then you will get all the sales, but on the first page. But now you have to really do your PPCs. You have to do all the branding, PPC sponsored brands, and all the headlines and
oh yeah.
Stuff. So.
No, absolutely. You have to be very technical on PPC nowadays, whereas in the past it was okay to handle that a bit manually or to have a VA doing that. I think now you really need to have a proper structure, proper tools, or proper approach, hybrid between humans and tools to have something very, very powerful on the PPC. And I think most markets in Europe have, of course, different languages, but then the long tail keywords is actually easier to use than in the US, where I'm probably it's more like you were just saying, Howard, more crowded at the top. But I think also the new organic is not the search results ranking, but also whatever formats you have in the product pages, like frequently bought together or the comparison tables, etc. So this is still free, and this is real estate that you should get as soon as possible, and this drives sales without costing anything.
So I wanted to ask. Like I just said, PPC is so aggressive in the U.S. How is it compared to Europe, or what do you feel like? How much difference in like how more important PPC is than in the U.S.?
Well, of course, I hate this answer, but of course it depends on the category. But on average, I think we notice like cost per click lower between 20 and 50% per category. So that's a rough average, but I think this is good to have in mind. And also in Europe, probably most of the brands are a bit less technical than the players in the US. So that's actually great for us to conquer those markets without having super big sellers, super big brands already at their top. And when you see some sellers that do a bit crazy stuff with a PPC, it's usually a good sign that you can go and make some money.
Well, I have a lot of other questions and stuff that I really want to talk to you about, but it's getting kind of late. So let's wrap it up. Do you have any final words for our audience here about anything that you can think of or anything you want to talk about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So maybe if you sell in the US or maybe just US, Canada, and sometimes even the UK, you definitely need to expand to continental Europe. It's complex, it's time consuming, but the margins are good, and you can really increase your business there. I started in Europe. It took me finally 2 years to launch in the US with a great success so far. And since I did this movement, my recurrent nightmare at night was waking up and telling myself, "You asshole, why haven't you done it before?" Right? So because I think the fear of success have been stronger for me than the fear of failure to launch in the US. And so, guys, if you are in the US, if you're considering Europe a bit like this, a bit too complicated, etc., don't be paralyzed by your fear of success in Europe. And let's chat.
Awesome. I think we did lose him there. He froze up, but he's back. But I first and foremost, it gave me the actual desire to want to go over there, because for the longest time I have delayed going into Europe, even though I have several best-selling products in the USA, but I always put it off. And so I, for one, am looking very forward to your actual speech, as I'm sure Howie is. So remember, Etienne is going to be one of almost over a dozen speakers that are going to be highlighting the first ever online virtual professors pandemic event that will be held at the end of June. And again, this is Howard Tai's first ever online virtual summit with his hand-selected group of superstar sellers, most of them which are underground and have been traveling the globe, meeting one another at these underground Amazon conventions where all these tips and strategies are obviously shared. And for the first time ever, we will be online, getting to meet one another and sharing these strategies with people while we're in our pajama bottoms, like I am right now. So I am, for one, looking forward to that. To find out more information about that, you need to go to a9mastermind.com/PPE. Howie, I learned a lot from Etienne, and I also had a lot of questions for him. I almost feel like you got to go take him over to another room right now and ask him those questions on behalf of all of us so we can all benefit from it. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I'm really fascinated about selling in different countries and global selling, because I think I did that starting in 2005 or 2006 on eBay. I started there. So, and was one of the first ones selling in Europe, UK, and other countries through the eBay platform. But it's really interesting because at that time no one was doing it, and there's so much opportunity. So I want to see what other people are doing nowadays. It's not as hard as everyone thinks, but they should just slowly get into it. VAT or the transportation or the logistics. It's just hiring someone to do it. You just have to just get your feet wet and just jump into it. Like what Etienne said about the US. He hits himself. He should have gotten into doing it a while ago. Why not? Why didn't I do it now? But in Europe, it's so much easier than the US. So I would say that you should really try to get your feet wet into Europe if you're not in there already, or the other way around. If you're Europe, you want to get into US, just get your feet wet and then get in there, because there's a lot of opportunities. And with the same product line, you're already sourcing already. You have the product. Why not just put it into different platforms, different countries? I mean, so that's what I would say. My final words.
Amazing. So awesome. I, for one, am excited for him to decipher all this complicated jargon. A lot of us would say, like as Howie said, he's an Amazon nerd. So it's like nerd speak, but hopefully he's going to translate all that for us in a simplified format. And he's going to have me leading the actual, everybody with their torches, excited to hear what he has to say. I'm excited. I know that Howie's excited. And I know Etienne's excited to share his knowledge. So I do look forward, for those of us that do decide to join us, it'll be one of the best decisions you make all summer long. And hey, after all, we are stuck in our houses for quite some time. So the best way to be safe is to meet live virtually online. So again, remember, if you want more information, go to a9mastermind.com/PPE, and that event will be held at the end of June. But I just wanted to thank everyone for joining us, including our guest Etienne, and as usual, our host Howie. Thanks again for joining us. We will see you next time with the next speaker.
Thanks, Liz. Thanks, Howie.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you, Etienne. Good meeting you.